Good morning, everyone, and welcome to December 21st. I'm literally 5 days away from leaving for Uganda to show you folks well and truly when the rubber hits the road, what it is like to overcome challenges. And I thought that I would start with a little story because I want you to understand that in many, many ways, you and I we're not different. Just because I'm giving a podcast and I'm giving you advice and recommendations from expertise that I've developed over the last, 21 years, doesn't mean that I'm in a different category as far as feelings or, insecurities about something. So I want to just give you a little heads up. So read this project about 3 or 4 days ago, about 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm coming into that lighter sleep and I'm thinking, oh, okay. And I'm only not really conscious, but I'm, subliminally aware. And I'm thinking, what in heaven's name have you gotten yourself into? Is my first thought. And I'm thinking, And of course, Frick over here is saying to me, Elaine, what were you thinking? You should have done this 20 or 30 years ago. All right. Like, what in God's name are you thinking? And of course, Frack, the other shoulder, Frick and Frack, they have an argument constantly. Frack is saying, okay, get off her back. She's going. Frick is saying, okay, you don't have, if you'd done it according to my advice 20 to 30 years ago, you'd have youth on your side. You'd have far better, might I say, physical conditioning. All right. And since you were still dancing semi-professionally, Highland dancing, not an easy feat, you would have had more athletic ability than you do right now. All right. Frack over here is saying, okay, but remind yourself, Elaine, you're not an impulsive woman. You get a lot of ideas, but you don't run away crazy with them. All right. So what do you know that you're not factoring in? No, you don't have the youth of 20 to 30 years ago. No, you certainly do not have athletic ability right now. And endurance, well, you've got a certain amount of endurance because you could do that prep trekking with Hafsa in the morning at 6 o'clock, and you got up to a pretty decent level. It was a struggle. All right, you're going to have to manage. And so I'm sitting there, I'm lying there, and I'm thinking, okay, what was the basis? Like unconsciously, what was the basis for you ever thinking this was a good idea? And all of a sudden it comes to me, and I thought, kid, and I'm sure it was Frack saying, kid, you might not have a lot of those other 3 things, but the one thing you've got that you've always had, you've got grit. And I thought, you know what? Grit and humility is going to be the combination that I depend on. Humility being understanding and accepting your limitations. All right. They don't have to be deal breakers. Now, this is not just about me. I'm telling you this story because I know every single one of you struggle in the same way with something that you really want to do and accomplish. All right. And so when you line up the overwhelmed feeling of you don't have the trifecta of what is needed traditionally for this goal you have, what do you have? Because if you can dream it, you can do it. And humility is a huge asset to have because it allows you to humble yourself, not to say the end product has to be perfect. It won't be. To accept right out of the gate, there will be challenges. All right. And if you are humble enough and you get off your own back, all right, and you don't undermine yourself by talking yourself out of it and listening to the committee, you're going to have the humility to ask for the help you need and accept it. All right. Just as a laugh, to start off, I want to introduce you to a new concept. It's a concept I was exposed to this week, tongue in cheek. It's the concept of bush toilet. Now, this was not traditionally going to be a topic for the podcast, but I have come up with what I hope is an additional solution, because at the same time, this little darling, my GoPro Max 360 camera, is going to be taking pictures all around in 360. All right, this might not be footage that you really want to make to the final cut. So I thought, just to be sure, all right, what can I do? And I thought, Frack was saying, this is so not happening. All right, this is so not happening. And Frick was saying, okay, that's fine to have an opinion, but you need a solution. And so I went on Amazon and I thought, and I Googled bush toilet. All right. And I came up with a novel idea, which now means I need to carry another large suitcase with me. Thank heavens I'm allowed. All right. With a pop-up tent that is a triangle with a base that is big enough to have a frame inside with a cushioned toilet seat. All right. And biodegradable bags that you can deposit to, with some kind of a gel stuff that you put in, and it's completely biodegradable. And so when they dig their hole, that's what's going to go in it, a little tied up bag. And just so that I don't look like a complete oddball, I'm going to let everybody use it. So I'm hoping that this is going to be allowed. Anyway, I thought I would just share that with you, that sometimes, you know, you have to kind of take a chance and go out on a limb. Maybe they'll allow it, maybe they won't. What the heck? I'm going to leave it with them anyway. It's the last time in my life I'm going to need a bush toilet, or anybody else probably. So back to the material for today, which was the foundation for how we're going to start. The gift of self-worth, all right, and the right to equality shows up in us in our ability to reclaim a sense of peace, which is what I did 3 or 4 days ago at 4 o'clock in the morning, while I tried to hash out the fact that I am not 20 or 30 anymore. It has been a long time since I could do a high cut or the sword dance. All right. And my physical endurance, I'm going to really have to work for it. All right. So that gift of self-worth being far less than perfect, but rather than letting yourself get derailed by the Frick message, you listen to Frack. Okay, I'll lend them to you. You can have Frick cousin and Frack cousin for your shoulders, and you can do a little exchange of reminding yourself, come on, Frack, come up with what we have going for us, and let yourself be equal. How am I going to equalize that inequality? All right, they're going to be 20-year-olds on this. There are going to be people who are like hardcore athletes on this. How am I going to be equal or feel equal? I'm going to ask for the help I need, and I'm going to remind myself I have prepared. I have a right to be there. All right. And I'm going to use my grit to come up with solutions to whatever presents itself and try to keep my mindset as stable and unperturbed, which only wastes energy. I'm going to encourage you that while I'm away and you encounter challenges yourself, you do the same thing. Take a firm hold of your self-worth and shake it, okay? Shake it until it's fresh. Shake out all the dust, shake out all the bad habits, shake out all the negative self-talk, and remind yourself, you have a right to anything that you can dream for yourself if you are prepared to gradually and respectfully for yourself, all right, deal with the work that needs to be done. And mostly that's about resourcing yourself, which I certainly have done with the pop-up tent. You have to admit, that was a star idea. And well, we'll see if it's a star idea. And also your own pace. Work at your pace and do it religiously. And so I found that a little while after that talk with myself, as soon as I had that one thing that I knew was true, and I want you to write down right now, paper and pen, please. What is the one aspect about yourself, the one quality, if it is a quality, it might not be, but what is the one thing you know about yourself that's true that will get you through a hard time? For some people, that will be faith. For some people, that will be the reminder of past experience. For some people, it will be knowing that you care and you are cared about. And so many people tell me they make an effort for the effect that they have on other people, all right, the relationships they have, as much as themselves. What is that one aspect about you that's like your version of grit? Because that is the thing that will return peace to you. All right, so got to get my machine going here. Hold on a sec. All right, yeah, it's not working. When you can return yourself to some level of peace with yourself, and I'm not talking absolute, the one thing that gives you is it gives you a freedom from fear, okay? It just lifts the fear away, and it replaces it with some level of confidence, some level of reminding yourself that you want something, you have a goal, and if you have that goal, inherently in yourself, you know somewhere you have the resource to at least start and find the pieces that need to be put into place so that you can keep moving forward. All right. Now, the other thing that happens as well is once you can get a handle on that self-doubt, you can reclaim some level of confidence and eliminate the fear that goes along with self-doubt. You are also able then to better manage what needs to have happen. If you stay in that state of self-doubt, undercutting yourself, criticizing yourself, listening to the voices on the committee, all right, you're going to find that you stay in this, like the airplane that circles the airport and never comes in for a landing, all right? And it will remind you as well that regardless of what the voices on the committee, which really are the voices of other people generally, and people who had a lot of opinions, but perhaps couldn't have done it any better themselves. It gives you that little jolt of certainty that is a foundation piece of confidence in yourself. All right. And it's the confidence, not that you necessarily can do it. I am not saying that necessarily every day that I'm out trekking gorillas or going down that zip lining thing, and you're going to see it all in stark relief on this little baby, that you're not aware of the risk. All right. So just because you are aware of the risk and it's talking to you, all right, be aware of hidden threats, of hidden jeopardy. Be aware of that, because if you're not aware of it, you can't factor it in to the approach you want to take. I know I need to pace myself. I know I need certain tools like my walking sticks. I needed orthotics to support the lack of, 20-year-old, 30-year-old physical stamina. And that will help you restabilize yourself rather than be overwhelmed and incapacitated. And if you keep reminding yourself, ask yourself now 4 questions, all right? The first question being, what do you know about yourself that you know is a strength? What is that one thing you know you have solidly? And you keep reminding it. You keep reminding it to yourself. And the next 3 questions are, all right, because you're not going to do this alone. I'm not going to do this alone. I'm going to do this with the strength of every one of you being there, rooting me on, even if I can't see you. All right. I'm going to be there as I leave messages for you about what the true challenges were, and I'm honest about it. I'm going to be there for myself by asking for the help I need. What help right now do you need to overcome that one challenge that's sitting in front of you that looks like a really onerous thing to overcome? All right. Because when you're aware of it, the universe will send you what you need, when you need it, in the order you need it, if you're awake and listening. And you have your antenna, you keep your antenna tuned to what the reality of the situation is. That was the other thing that I wanted. I remember talking to my son about this last night as we waited for my grandson to get in on a plane for Christmas. And I'm telling him about this. And he says, what concerns do you have? And I said, well, and of course, meaning there will be people who say to you, don't worry about that. Everything's going to be fine. And I want you to encourage you that when you're facing these challenges while I'm away and after, I want you to say to yourself, if I don't deal with reality, I've got nothing. Well, no, I do have. I've got a load of surprises that I then have to factor in at the last minute while I'm trying to pull off something that's difficult. So please, as much as people want to assure you, as much as the temptation is to say, everything's going to be all right, planning is also important. Planning is important so that you can identify the resources you need in yourself. One of the resources that I needed this morning was to get up at 5 o'clock and to say, grit is fine, but the weather has landed in. You have to deal with reality. Do not go to Disneyland in your mind where everything can be done and it's all based on wish. All right. This is not the magic castle. This is our real life. And so one of the things, my realization about you've got grit, kid, and you're going to draw on it. That is going to be the thing that makes you persist, because it always has been the thing that when you dig deep and you grab a hold of it, all right, it's got you through. It's got you through some doozies. This morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, I thought to myself, is there anything I need to prove to myself? More for reassurance. Is there anything you need to prove to yourself for reassurance? So one of the things I thought, you know what? The weather and the snow and the storms have moved in. So Hafsa and I aren't out at 6 o'clock in the morning, trekking through the woods, building up the endurance. And it's been about 3 weeks. It's amazing when you're not a professional athlete, how 3 weeks can make you feel not as prepared. So I got up this morning and I thought, you know what? Every morning until you leave, including Christmas morning while everybody else sleeps in, you are going to get on that treadmill. And by the end of the day, in 1,000 step intervals, you are going to do 10,000 steps. All right, but you're going to do it in a manageable, realistic chunk. What does that mean? Right now, I want you, pen and paper, to write down one goal that you're going to set for yourself in the 11 days I'm away. What is one goal? If you don't have it specifically, like nailed down to the detail, what would one goal be a small chunk of? What is the thing that's bugging you the most? That if you could put a little dent in it and make it a bigger dent day 2 and a bigger dent day 3, like I'm going to have to do, I want you to share the effort I'm going to make by doing the same for yourself. What would it be? All right. Now, under that, I want you to put 3 things that you know you're going to need. Could be as simple as garbage bags. Could be as simple as rest. Could be, what are 3 things that you know you're going to need? All right. And where are you going to get them? Now, I don't know about you, but I know that when I have a big job or a job that seems onerous, I know that I need to set healthy boundaries and limits for myself before I start it. Why? To protect myself against distraction, because when something is a big job, all right, distraction is my best friend. It is right there calling to me. All right. When I set healthy boundaries and limits, like, now healthy would be like this morning, by the end of today, come hell or high water, I'm doing 10,000 steps. I might do more, but I will do at least 10,000 steps. And tomorrow and the next day and the next day, simply so that when I get on that plane and I get to Africa, after I have been flying for 26 hours and I feel like death, all right, I want something to remind myself, no, you prepared for this. Okay, you get yourself unjet lagged 2 days, right? And then you get out in their weather and you walk another 10,000 steps. Is that going to change the world? No, but it changes my head. In my own mind, I have no basis for realistically undercutting or second guessing myself. What do you need to do to stop that second guessing yourself and undermining yourself that keeps you from moving forward, even with baby steps? 10,000 steps in 10 1,000 step increments is baby steps. Do you know how long it takes you to walk 1,000 steps? Do you know how long? about 15 minutes. All right. And that's not even when the treadmill's going very fast. 15 minutes, you can walk 1,000 steps if you keep going. What's your equivalent? All right. Healthy boundaries and limits mean that you pace yourself, you respect your pace. And when you do whatever you do in that little chunk of time, you don't undercut yourself and undermine yourself by looking at how much more there is to do. That's setting healthy boundaries and limits. Don't even let that thought. Don't even let that thought come. And if it does, you talk back to it. I have a plan for you. You're next. And you're next, and you're next, and you're next. All right? Don't undercut yourself. It would have been so easy for me to come up with an excuse why, right out of the gate, I should be sitting on the sedan chair. That first thought about, okay, you should have done this 20 to 30 years ago, girlfriend. You're not an Olympic athlete. You do not have superb physical conditioning. At that point, a friend would have been an excuse, right? But hanging in and setting a boundary and limit for the negative thinking as well. It isn't just about with other relationships. It's about with yourself as well. Don't let yourself step off the abyss that causes you to second guess yourself and doubt yourself. Break the chunk down into a smaller chunk. Okay, I tried to do, Elaine said do 15 minutes. I was on a roll. I decided to do 2 hours. I'm half dead. It's the next day. I can't even face going back to it now. I don't have 2 hours because the biggest memory in my mind is, I can't, I don't want to do, I don't think I can do that. I'm not feeling well. Whatever it is, I got something more important, whatever it is that superimposes itself. All right. Break it down into doable chunks so that you can repeat. Now, I guarantee you tonight, before I go to bed, when I'm doing the last 3,000 steps, I'm going to want to be doing anything else. But I'm going to set a healthy boundary and limit. You said 10,000, you know you can do 10,000, do it. Do it. Just do it and get past it. You know you can do it. All right, just do it. Why? So that when I get to Africa, I will have the confidence in myself that I know I've done this before and I know I can do it, even though I don't want to do it. Okay, that helps us, that all said and done, that helps us to maintain, when we do that, all right, helps us to maintain a predictable basis for ourselves. What is our baseline? All right. And when we know tonight, when I know you got another 3,000 steps, girlfriend. All right. And I go, oh, you know, I'm tired. I really work on frickin' frack having an argument. All right. I'm going to be able to say to myself, no, look, you want to be able to have confidence in Africa because it's going to be tougher than on your treadmill in the living room in front of the TV. I got news for you. All right. You want to have confidence, then this is how you take care of yourself. You make yourself do the small chunks. So this, however, and what do you need to give yourself? What would that be? To be able to consistently pay attention to meeting the various other types of security. Because when all said and done, that confidence is basically a sense of security. Okay, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. All right. That's security. That's that peace we were talking about earlier. So, doing the baby steps. So that peace, that sense of security, of confidence in yourself, not absolute, just with respect to whatever that next chunk is you need to do, right? In order to minimize distractions, then you don't need to find something else. You don't need to convince yourself that it's too much, all right? That, the ripple effect of that is that it minimizes your stress level as well. And when you make yourself do these small baby steps, literally the 15 minutes a day, every day, all right, without undercutting yourself by looking at how much more there is to do, it lowers your stress, and it lowers the stress that solidifies in the back of your mind, in the background of your day-to-day life that you carry. Every time you don't do that tiny baby step, knowing full well you can do it, it adds to the weight of what holds you back with stress that you carry, and a lack of confidence, a lack of focus as well, all right? So what are the other types of security that we need to manage? Because these are like, I want you to picture a table with 4 legs, all right? And the next 3 things are 3 of those 4 legs. The 4th leg is what we've been talking about, the goals that you have set for yourself, the baby steps you do. Every day makes up 1 leg. What are some of the others? Financial security. All right. So, is there anybody here that carries with them a day-to-day insecurity about finances? Not that you have to have a lot. You don't have to have a lot. You can also have a lot. It's about knowing that today is covered, all right? And there's enough for tomorrow. So is there anything, I know, for instance, with some people who are talking about their hoarding situation, sometimes it involves acquisition, all right? And acquisition requires funds of some kind, all right? Whether it's credit or it's actual financial means that they have. And they're spending that. And they're spending it at a rate that they feel insecure, all right? Or even if they're not, they're out of control. They feel like a boulder rolling downhill, out of control. Is there anybody here, thumbs up, I won't even look at who, thumbs up, who feel that they spend more than they have, that they have a basic budget that works, all right, but that the outgoing is a little out of control or a lot out of control? Anybody? There are no thumbs up. Okay, I'm going to leave you with that one, because that is one way, all right? Credit is another. Financial security can also be that the budget isn't the problem, but you were raised to have a fear of deprivation or a fear of wasting, of inadequacy, that you never feel safe. Is there anybody here who has even basically enough but never feels safe financially? They've been taught to fear. And where that can play out with hoarding is the fear of parting with things all right, because you might need them in future. And that you would be desperately afraid that you couldn't afford to replace them. All right. And even if it's not, you couldn't afford to replace them, some people even take it an extra step further. And that is, well, how stupid would I be? How silly would it be if I have it now and then I need it later and I let it go? So it becomes a way to self-judge yourself for somehow not being able to predict the future. Anybody here have any of those, because they're tied to that financial security, been putting off intimidating large amounts of tax paperwork? I know tax paperwork is huge. However, usually when you delay it, they owe you money. When you delay it because you can't find the documents or it seems overwhelming, all right, quite often they owe you. However, the other thing that is also true, so I just want you to know it, all right, so you don't judge yourself harshly. I don't think I've ever started working with a client who wasn't, now there may be one or two in the last 20 years where they weren't a minimum of 4 years overdue in filing their taxes. All right. The intimidation of paper. All right. Paper is huge. It's one of the biggest barriers that create hoarding. And paper takes special attention. We'll go over that again in future podcasts because it's fundamental. But even right now, if you know you fall into that category, all right, you haven't filed your income tax in however long, while I'm away, could one of your jobs, so long as the safety corridor is secure, it's okay, it's safe, could you get a bin, okay, or a box, and you can get boxes for free. And every piece of paper lying around, take it and put it in that box or that bin, wherever it is. All right. Now, if they're income tax papers and you know you have those, put those in a separate bag and put them with the others. All right. Can you do that? All the paper, anybody, and I bet it's most of the people here. I'm suffocated by paper clutter. It doesn't surprise me, Lynn, and Kristen as well. Christine, absolutely. Okay. Paper is almost at the top of the top 10 things hoarded. And it isn't hoarded deliberately. Almost always it's hoarded passively. I just don't have the energy to go through it. I've got to read every line to be sure that it's okay. And you do have to screen it. But we will actually, for a whole podcast, all right, everybody will bring their paper and I will coach you through, free of charge, how to pick up the paper and how to scan it visually and how to screen it and how to decide. Okay, how's that? So you get the papers together while I'm gone. Now, the other thing that happens is financial, you just talked about financial, physical security, all right? That is living in a safe home, and that home is in a safe community. Is there anybody here, you can even do it privately, all right? Thumbs up if you really don't feel safe in your home. Double thumbs up if the safety factor is other than hoarding. Okay, that might be a discussion that we could have separately through direct messages, all right? And then if that's ever the case, I want you to know I want to know about it. I want to know about it privately. And you and I will work together on that. I don't want anybody coming here, living in an unsafe situation and feeling that you're alone with it. All right, you're not. All right. So that being able to protect yourself, well, part of the protection in a hoarding situation is your mental and emotional protection. Because every time you walk into a hoarded environment, even if it's safe, most people tell me, all right, the blinkers go on, all right? And before the blinkers can reset and protect you, all right, you do a scan and you go, oh, just to protect yourself. That's a huge cost. Do you know how much energy it takes to keep those blinders and those blinkers in place? Do you know? And do you know that when you have those in place, this is true, you can't just block out the negative. You block out the positive too. You're missing the very thing that is in your environment, that is right there in your day-to-day life, that would help you elevate your mood, would help you feel better, would help you feel better about yourself and about the hope that things are going to be different. Okay. All right. Relationship security. The first relationship you need to be secure in is the relationship with yourself. I was pleased the other day at 4 o'clock in the morning, while I was having this conversation with myself, that part of myself stood up for me. Because while that time, in that time duration when Frick was saying, you know, you're not 21 anymore, and you're not as physically fit as you were when you taught Highland dancing, and your endurance, you know, like, yeah, you work hard and you love to work hard, but a lot of the time you're sitting down. It's not going to be the same thing. I am really glad that that little part of me stood up and said, don't listen to them, kid. The one thing you've always had is grit. All right. What is that one thing that that part of you would stand up for you and say? Write it down right now. What is that one part of you that would stand up for you and say, those things may be true, but this is also true on the other side of the scale? What is that? And I want you to take, in some private place where everybody who comes into your home can't read it, I want you to take a sticky, some private place, and I want you to write that word, whatever it is, and I want you to stick it on a mirror or someplace private, and I want it to be the first thing you see when your feet hit the floor in the morning. Because you know that's true about you. And you know that's a positive, and you know that's a strength. Is it the whole story? No. Is it the solution to everything? No. But it is the thing that will help you fight for whatever the solution is. That part of you will fight for you. Okay. And I'm really glad grit stood up. All right. I was a little surprised at the same time, however, that stubborn didn't stand up. Just go figure. I don't know. They probably had an arm wrestle and Grit said, I'll talk to her. I don't know. But the parts of you that stand up for you and fight for you, those are the things I want you to put and see the very first thing before the day starts getting complex. Okay? All right. Job security. Well, whether it's employment or whether it's the job you give yourself, all right, it's the thing that supports you. It is the work that supports you, that gives you meaning. This is the purpose. Hopefully that job security, even if it isn't employment, is what you put your best energy, your best self toward. That could be self-care, could be care of others. It could be anything. It could be nailing down what you need to move forward with the clutter. What is the thing that is the biggest source of meaning for you? All right. One of the biggest sources of meaning for me arrived in on an airplane last night, and I haven't seen my grandson for 2.5 years. I talked to him, but COVID and being away at university didn't make it possible. And I tell you, today I feel so much better than I did yesterday. When my granddaughter arrives in March, it'll be even better. Okay, so now on that paper and with your paper and pen, I want you to write down, what are the things that you know? And this will be very individual to each person, that are stable in your life, that won't randomly disappear. So basically, paraphrase, it's, what do you know that you can really count on? Because those things give you a sense of safety and security. And beside that characteristic, that quality, that strength you have, I want another sticky with those things on it. And that's the second thing you look at when you get up in the morning, no matter how good, how bad, or indifferent your day is lining up to be or was the day before. Never go to fear. Always go to fact. And that strength about you is a fact. You know it. When you say it, when you look at it, when you read it, it registers with a whole lot broader part of you. You know it. And when you write down those, whatever few, many things that you know you can count on, those are the things that will give you. And if you don't have a list, if you're not aware, then one of two things needs to happen. You either need to find them, you need to reflect more and find them, or you need to develop them. You need to go after them. All right? Because what that means is that you're on a tenuous foundation of feeling safe and secure. How in heaven's name are you going to do anything difficult, like declutter, like make decisions, final decisions? How are you going to do that if you're having a hard time keeping your balance? How? It's not realistic to expect that. Is there some part that this podcast or I can be to help you find what those are? Because that's where it starts. All right. Now we have 53 messages in the chat box. So let's have a little look. Come on. Oh, what is wrong with me? All right, there we go. What would be example of things you can count on? I tend to break it down. This is the way I kind of process it for myself. First and foremost, you may have relationships in your life. Okay, more or less relationships, good, bad, indifferent relationships. But first and foremost, you have yourself. And so for me, I always start with, what do I need to do for me? All right. What do I need to do for me? And I know, knowing myself as I do for as many years as Frick was trying to remind me I have, I know that I need a minimum of 8 to 10 hours of sleep a night. Yep, has always been true. One of my mother's expressions growing up was, you were born tired and never had a rest, never got a rest. I've always needed a lot of sleep, and I do really well. The other thing I know for sure about myself is I'm a morning person. I'm not a get up and rush at the day person, but I'm a morning person. If I have to do something, all right, it's got to be, and I don't want to do it, it's got to be in the morning. I can finish it. I can finish it in the rest of the day, but the brain turning over, cogitating, chewing on something, the hard part that's not concrete, that has to be done in the morning. After 2 cups of coffee, 2 large cups of coffee. Well, and also an espresso if I really need it. Anyway, just joking. Anyway, but it's true. What are the things you know? So I always start with the concrete, because I am not fit to live with if I haven't had enough sleep. That's just who I am. So I start with that. I need not to be focusing on food. So I need to stay away from sugar. All right. Because sugar is like crack cocaine to my brain. All right. Sugar just means that I'm in the middle of something and I'm like a squirrel looking for nuts. All right. You got to find it. It's very, very distracting. So I got to stay away from sugar, which means breakfast cannot be Honey Nut Cheerios. All right. What else are givens? I personally need to talk to myself and figure things out. Whatever went well the day before or recently, whatever didn't go well, I need to get it figured out in my mind. And I've learned that the hard way. Carrying things. No, I need to have it sorted. I don't need to tell myself it's the truth. Okay, my truth is one truth. I don't say I know the truth, but I know the truth for me. I know what it means for me. And then the other thing I need to do when something's bugging me, I need to have, and it doesn't take a long time. When you do this kind of organically, you've taught yourself to do it organically so you can put down the heavy stuff and get on with the lighter stuff. All right. You can't do anything else when you carry the heavy stuff the whole day, or you're distracted by a disagreement you had the day before, or a conflict you had the day before, or a challenge that's unfinished the day before. You can't get on with today. Okay. It's going, wow, 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 distracting you. You're carrying it. Put it down. I either have to make things right if there was something that was a misunderstanding, or there's some job that needs to be done. I promised my word to somebody, that has to happen. And then, it doesn't take all day. It might take an hour in the morning. All right. But I personally have to do that, because when I'm counseling people, I can't be in my own head. I need to be free to be with them. Maybe that's how I learned to do that, is figure it out as best you can, have a good idea of what you need to do and what maybe the beginning of a solution would be, and put it down. All right. Don't carry it the rest of the day. I need my dogs. I need cuddles from my dogs. because they are the cutest things on the face of the earth right now, except my grandson and my granddaughter, and my son and my daughter, and okay, and a few other people. Yeah, I need to know. I need to know that these are mundane things, but I need to know that the dogs have had a walk, so that now I don't need to do it, but I need to know that they've had a walk, so that they're not here, not being taken care of. Okay. Those are the kinds of things that are very concrete. What do you need? And are you giving? And these are all things you need to give yourself. These aren't things that depend on the universe. The universe can be flipping out here. All right. This is what you do for yourself. If you have a health crisis, if what are your needs? All right. If you're diabetic, you need to eat first thing in the morning. I'm not diabetic. I don't need to eat first thing in the morning. I need to eat sometime before noon. But I listen to my body on that. If you have a health concern, if you have chronic pain, you need to stay on top of your pain medication, not wait for it to wear off and then lose part of the day because you didn't take care of yourself. If you're depressed, all right, one of the best things you can do, and of course it's the thing nobody really wants to hear, is get up and get outside. Get up and get outside. All right. Exercise. When Harvard is giving courses on the benefits of physical activity, and it could be a walk, a 10-minute walk, a 5-minute walk. Okay. So if you are, what can you do? What does your care provider tell you is a good idea? Go back and listen to the podcasts. If something's bugging you and it's attached to any one of the 53, I think there are 75 podcasts now in the library. Go back and listen. Go back and listen. If you've run out of ideas, go back and listen. All right. Okay. Carrie, thank you for the challenge while you're going to be away. I appreciate it. Yeah, yeah, you guys are in this with me. Hey, this is not a spectator sport, people. You've got your challenge. I've got my challenge. We pick up the ball and run with it. Kimberly, I need sleep. Mindfulness, yes. Meditation, good food, swimming, exercise. Hydration is a biggie. Oh, forgot. For heaven's sakes, yes, keep yourself hydrated. Do you know that if you don't breathe, I learned this doing my master's in social work placement with a victim crisis unit with a police department. And so I was out on some pretty desperate calls. And do you know that almost every person, where it wasn't rage, almost every person who was in a panic, like a physical emotional panic, was breathing up here in the top part of their chest. And you know what that does? You can put your body into a panic if you don't give yourself enough oxygen. All right. And I'm talking belly breathing. All right. If you don't know how to do it, go back into Conquer the Clutter. There's a whole section on de-stress breathing. It sounds like, oh my gosh, is that all? No, it's so basic, but it's true. And you need to give yourself enough oxygen at a cellular level. All right. And hydration. Those are the two things. Most fatigue can be helped with adequate hydration. All right. And a little bit of a Canadian winter too will wake you up. Boy, will it ever. Everybody up here is going, yeah. All right. It was National. No, was it really National Maple Syrup Day on Saturday? Oh, I didn't know that. I just do without sleep to buy. No, you don't do without sleep to buy more time. No. Because so you buy more time, but how good do you feel while you're spending it? Not so good. All right. Whatever time you're going to enjoy it full thrust. Rest. If you're not a sleeper, rest. Start with that until you can unwind enough, that you can unload enough, that you can actually get a healthy sleep that will feed your body. Okay, where are we here now? I stopped thinking of decisions as good or bad. Good for you, Leslie. And started thinking this: are they in my, love it? Are they in my best interests or not in my best interests? Absolutely. Absolutely. Bonus. What would it get? Okay, so there's Claudia. Oh gosh. What if it's the clutter that provides comfort? Well, I don't think that clutter provides comfort. I think it provides reassurance that you haven't maybe made a mistake, or that among that stuff is something you need, so you're taken care of, you're adequately provided for moving forward. But it probably doesn't comfort you, or you wouldn't be here. So it's not comforting you, it's giving you something, but I question whether what it's giving you is what it's costing you. All right, that's something I want you to think about. The reassurance that you haven't made a mistake by letting something go. What does that cost you? That's not to say summarily throw everything out or randomly just start pitching stuff, but it's about 15 minutes a day making the decisions that are in your best interests today. All right. And trusting that, you know what, there are very, very few things. It's not like you're going to give your car away. It's not like you're going to give your bed away. It is not like you're going to give whatever away. All right. Chances are, and it does happen, that you give something away and 2 weeks later you think, where is that thing? I had an example. Okay, let's end on this. This is kind of a funny story, but it doesn't undo the truth. What it actually does is it validates the fact that even if you let that thing go, how did you survive without it? So we moved to this house about 3 or 4 years ago. The other house was a bigger house. And I did a lot of culling as we moved. And when the grandchildren left home and our children left home, the need to have a Christmas tree became redundant because of the needles. All right. And the need to have an artificial tree became not a good idea, because then we needed to dedicate space to store it. Right. And you could never find all the parts of it anyway. Nothing worse than finding the top 2/3 of the tree and nobody can find the stand. All right. Until next year. All right. So we got this lovely bowl thing, and it had a sort of a look-alike. Could have been a tree. Could have been a tree. Could have been anything. It was green. All right. And we could hang a few. It was nice. We put it on a table. It was great. The presents went under it. Served the purpose. All right. Long story short, we went to get that this past week, Hafsa and I. Do you think we could find it? We went out and looked in the Birchall Consulting storage shed with the equipment. We went and we looked in the donation shed, wasn't there. We looked in the basement. We found a lot of other stuff. We didn't find it. Gave it away. And I thought, oh, this is one of those humbling moments when, you gave the thing away and you could have used it. And then I thought, oh, get over yourself, Elaine. What else could there be? So Hafsa and I went out to Lowe's and we found this. I like real trees, but I am not up for a real tree. Anyway, we found this little tree that is it's sort of like the Peanuts one. And it's about maybe 2.5 feet high, and it's real. All right. And they drill a hole in the bottom of it, and then they have this disposable stand that you stomp the thing on, and it fits together, and you've got a real tree. And so we went, and I knew the lights weren't going to be the right size, the outdoor lights. So we got a strand of lights, and we got a few decorations from the decoration pile downstairs in the basement. I gave the thing away. It probably cost me $25 for that tree in the stand. And guess what? I lived to talk another day. There's always something else. There are so few things except the people in our lives and the pets that can't be replaced by something that is available, is affordable, might even have been free, could have waited till Christmas Eve, and they'd be giving this stuff away. All right. There's always something to make up for if you let go of something and you go, whoops, could have used that. All right. So trust that the universe will provide what you need, when you need it, in the order you need it, if you're awake and listening and you're looking. Okay. You take care, everybody. Now, next podcast, I am going to try my best to do it from Uganda. All right. But it's going to be about gorilla trekking. Okay, because I'm not going to have the time to prepare the material from you. One of the other things too is we'll finish this in a following podcast, or I might put it out on a written form and send it to you. So if you would send us your emails, and we'll make a list. And then we'll only send it to those people who want it. It's just the end of this material is about moving forward and using the workbooks, the 2 workbooks that I've recommended already, and the benefits of doing that. They're excellent, excellent workbooks. Is there anybody here who doesn't know what I'm referring to? And I'll go over and get them. Okay, hold on. These are the 2. All right.
Oh.
Got it? Do you want me to read it? Okay.
Got it.
Got it? Okay. Everybody got it? All right. And this one. Oh gosh, hold on. Bye, everybody.
Can you do it? Yes, you can. Yes, you can.